Peace be upon you. This is Said Mirza from MillionaireReason.com. And in today's talk, I wanted to look at the idea that Prophet Muhammad will intercede on behalf of his ummah, the followers of Prophet Muhammad, on the Day of Judgment. Now, this is something that I heard a lot when I was growing up. This was the good news that we were the followers of Muhammad, and on the Day of Judgment, he will intercede on our behalf, and we will enter Jannah. And recently, I came across this video by a gentleman called Omar Suleiman. He's a well-known Muslim scholar, and he was peddling this idea that not only is Muhammad is an intercessor, he is the greatest intercessor of them all. If you have even read the Qur'an in a cursory manner, you know that Prophet Muhammad will not intercede on your behalf. He will say something else. And this whole idea of intercession actually is recorded in the Quran in the sense that there are three other personalities: Ibrahim, Musa, and Isa, both prophets and messengers who try to intercede for a people, two in this life and two in the hereafter. So Ibrahim and Musa interceded for people in this life, and on the Day of Judgment, Isa and Muhammad will give testimony on the Day of Judgment. Okay, this is all recorded in the Quran. And we will see in the Quran what the result of their testimony was, and it will shock you. I think the best way to start with this is to look at the Quran, look at what Prophet Abraham, how his intercession went. And this is in chapter 11, verse 74. So let me pull that up for you. Okay. And this is Brother Garen's translation, the Quran, a complete revelation. If you don't like his translation, go read something else. Read another translation by Yusuf Ali or Sahih International or Abdul Halim or whoever. It doesn't matter. It's pretty much the same thing across the board. So to give you a little bit of context, if you want to scroll up and read the verses, try to read the Quran in context. Don't just jump into a verse. But I'll give you the context here, and you can verify if you don't believe me. But the context is that basically the angels had come to Prophet Abraham and to deliver the good news to them that he would have a son, and also to destroy the people of Lut. And when Abraham heard about this, he realized what was going on. He pleaded for God to spare them. So this is the context. Now let's read on. This is chapter 11, verse 74. And when the alarm had left Abraham and the glad tidings had reached him, he disputed with us concerning the people of Lot. Abraham was clement, compassionate, penitent. O Abraham, forsake thou this. The command of thy Lord has come, and there will come to them a punishment which cannot be repelled. So there you have it. This is the intercession of Prophet Abraham. The result was nothing. And God said, forsake this pleading. The command of your Lord has come. When God's command comes, it is carried out. Nothing can avert it. No one can avert it. See, it has come to them a punishment that cannot be repelled. So this is Prophet Abraham who argued with God, who pleaded with God to spare the people of Lot in this life. Now, also, we have Prophet Moses. He also pleaded with God for his people. And this is in chapter 7, verse 155. And again, I encourage you to go back and read a little bit further up to see what's going on. But the context is that Prophet Moses went and left Aaron in charge for the children of Israel, and then he went up the mountain to receive the commandments of God, the tablets. And when he came down, he saw that his people had fallen into idol worship. They had set up a heifer, and they were worshiping it. And obviously he was horrified. And this is the point where the narrative picks up. And Moses chose of his people 70 men for our appointed time. Then when the earthquake seized them, he said, My Lord, if thou hadst willed, thou wouldst have destroyed them before and me. Wilt thou destroy us for what the foolish among us have done? It is but thy means of denial. Thou sendest whom thou wilt astray thereby, and guidest whom thou wilt. Thou art our ally, so forgive thou us, and have thou mercy on us, and thou art the best of those who forgive. And prescribe thou for us in the world good, and in the hereafter. We have returned to thee, he said. I strike with my punishment whom I will, but my mercy encompasses all things. I will ordain it for those of prudent fear, and who render the purity, and those who believe in our proofs. Those who follow the messenger, the unschooled prophet, whom they find written with them in the Torah and the Gospel, who enjoins on them what is fitting, and forbids them perversity, and making lawful for them the good things, and making unlawful for them the bad, and relieving them of their burden and the fetters that were upon them. Those who believed in him, and supported him, and helped him, and followed the light which was sent down with him, it is they who are the successful. So, what did God say when Moses pleaded with him? He said, I strike with my punishment whom I will. See, again, God does what he wills, but my mercy encompasses all things. So God's mercy already encompasses all things. There's no need for pleading. God is the merciful, and he will ordain it for those of prudent fear and who render the purity, and those who believe in his proofs. Okay, so this is the result of the intercession of Moses. No change. Okay, now let's move on to the afterlife, the intercession by Jesus. I'm just trying to give you a picture. The Quran is giving you a picture. This has already been written down. This whole business of Prophet Muhammad being the greatest intercessor by the liar, Omar Suleiman. It's right here in front of you. The Quran is negating all of this. Okay, this is chapter 5, verse 116. And when God will say, O Jesus, son of Mary, didst thou say to men, take me and my mother as two gods besides God? He will say, Glory be to thee. It was not for me to say that to which I had no right. If I had said it, then thou wouldst have known it. Thou knowest what is in my soul, and I know not what is in thy soul. Thou art the knower of the unseen realms. I said not to them but what thou commandest me. Serve God, my Lord and your Lord. And I was a witness to them while I was among them. But when thou tookest me, thou wast the watcher over them, and thou art witness to all things. If thou punish them, they are thy servants, and if thou forgive them, thou art the exalted in might, the wise. God will say, This is the day in which their truthfulness benefits the truthful. They have gardens beneath which rivers flow, they abiding eternally therein. Forever, God is pleased with them, and they please with him. That is the great achievement. To God belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth and what is in them, and he is over all things powerful. So, here we have Jesus. When God questions him on the day of judgment, if he commanded his followers to take him and his mother as two gods besides God, he will obviously say, no, that's not what I said. And God knows that. And he says, if thou punish them, they are thy servants, and if thou forgive them, thou art the exalted in might, the wise. This is the famous intercession that the Christians are waiting for. Okay, here you go. And God will say, this is the day in which their truthfulness benefits the truthful, as in those people who believed in the one God, who served God alone. This day, this will benefit them, their belief, the truth that they said. They have gardens beneath which rivers flow, they abiding eternally therein. So, again, those people who lied, who said that God has a son, they will enter the fire. Okay, final testimony. I wouldn't even say this is an intercession. This is Prophet Muhammad on the day of judgment. And I wanted to read this a little bit more in depth and kind of go back a little bit, because right here, this is nullifying and falsifying what Omar Suleiman is saying and what the hadiths are saying completely. And actually, it's exposing people like Omar Suleiman for the liars that they are, the workers of corruption, the servers of shaitan. Let's just read this carefully and you'll see what I mean. This is chapter 25, and we're going to start here at verse 25. Again, I am not cherry picking here. I encourage you to go back and read this whole surah. Okay, try to read the Quran in context. Don't just pick out verses and then go your merry way. Read the Quran in context. But here the context is pretty much that the judgment day has arrived. So, and the day the sky is rent asunder with the clouds, and the angels are sent down in successive descent. True dominion that day belongs to the Almighty, and it will be a difficult day for the false claimers of guidance. Now, as you know, Brother Gans, in his translation, he is translating this word al-kafirun as false claimers of guidance, and there's a reason for that. There's a specific reason for that, and that reason is that these people are claiming to be guided when in actuality they are not guided. They're on the wrong path. They are the strayers because they don't really follow God's guidance. And see, this is what we see with the people like Omar Suleiman. They are not really following the Quran. They're actually following the Hadith and all the other nonsense that they have inherited from their forefathers, but they give a veneer of the Quran. And so this is why it's going to be a difficult day for them, the false claimers of guidance, because now the truth will be manifest. So let's continue on. And the day the wrongdoer will bite his hands, he will say, would that I had taken with the messenger a pat. Now again, let's stop here for a moment. The wrongdoer here is regretting. He says, I wish I had taken with the messenger a pat. Now Muslims will be quick to jump in here and say this is talking about the path is following Prophet Muhammad, his sunnah, the hadith, see? But we shall see that this is not what it's talking about. Taking with the messenger a path means to hold the Quran alone, exclusively. This is what it means to take with the messenger a path. Why? We shall see. This is all going to come together. Woe is me, would that I had not taken such and such for a friend. Which friend? This wrongdoer now realizes he had made a big mistake by taking someone as a friend. Who? He led me astray from the remembrance after it reached me, and the Satan is to man a traitor. And the messenger will say, O my Lord, my people took this Quran as a thing abandoned. So the wrongdoer will bite his hands on the day of judgment, and he will say, I wish I had taken with the messenger a pat. And the messenger will say on the day of judgment, O my Lord, my people took this Quran as a thing abandoned. As in, Prophet Muhammad is saying here, he's not saying, my people abandoned my sunnah or the hadith, the Bukhari wrote down. No, he's saying my people took this Quran as a thing abandoned. So they abandoned the Quran. So that was the whole idea behind taking the messenger, the path with the messenger. It was to follow the Quran. But the wrongdoer abandoned it. Why? Because his friend, the person he took as a friend, he led him astray from the remembrance after he reached him. Now, as you know, the Quran uses the word dhikr as for itself. So Al-Quran is the dhikr. The Quran is the remembrance. So here it's saying that this Satan, this Omar Suleiman, he took me away from the Quran. He led me astray from the remembrance after he reached me. Because most of the time they're talking about the hadith and the sunnah, and they're making up stuff. Because they're liars. They're not talking about the Quran. So I do encourage you to go and check out this video by Omar Suleiman, because you will see he doesn't talk anything about the Quran in that short video. He just talks about the sunnah and the hadith. This will happen. It's just a bunch of lies, because he is leading men astray from the remembrance. And he is a false claimer of guidance. So you have to read this very carefully and try to understand who this guy is, who is biting his hands, and what is his regret now. And you will see that his regret was that he was led away from the remembrance after it reached him. He was led away from the Quran by these evildoers. Let's continue on. And thus we appointed for every prophet an enemy from among the lawbreakers, but thy Lord suffices as a guide and a helper. Now these men who are saying they are the followers of Muhammad, they are actually his enemies. They were his enemies, and they are his enemies. They are enemies of the prophets. They dress up in this whole get-up to fool men and talk about piety and all this, when they're actually liars. They follow other stuff. They follow what Bukhari wrote down, or the other Satans, instead of following the revelation that came down to Muhammad. So again, I encourage you to read this really carefully. Try to understand what it's talking about, and you will see the truth of the matter, God willing. And God guides whom he wills, and he misguides whom he wills. My job here is to just show you what's in the Quran. And the Quran is already giving us the testimony of 4 prophets and messengers, and none of them were able to do anything for their people. God willing, until next time, peace and blessings be upon you.